Welcome. My name is David Rubio. This is my colleague Audrey. I see some familiar faces here from me from last year. We are with Pacific Companies. We are the largest physician recruitment firm that is based in California. And what makes us a little bit different is that we travel quite a bit for work. We evaluate every single opportunity that we represent in person. So whether it's in Toledo, Ohio, or somewhere in Iowa, whatever, we'll go on site, meet with the practicing group, and find out really what they're looking for, why they're looking. We can share those details with you. And really our goal here today to cover is, we're going to highlight in our presentation, is we're going to discuss really what are some trends that we see and opportunities, whether it's for hospitalists, internal medicine, outpatient, traditional, sportsmen. We're going to discuss compensation. We're going to discuss how to evaluate an opportunity, really kind of have an objective view on what you're comparing and contrasting, and also really dive into any questions you may have after our presentation. So really, when it's all said and done, we're talking 20, 25 minutes, okay? For a point of reference, how many PGY3s do we have in the room right now, just by show of hands? Okay, so we have a couple here, and mixture of family medicine and internal medicine, is that correct? Okay, great. So we're going to get started. All right. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. I'd imagine that you probably receive a lot of solicitations nowadays via recruiters, probably just like ourselves, whether email or phone calls. So really what we do, once we identify a candidate that's responded to one of our postings, whether it's online or some other capacity, get to know you a little bit. Really get a sense on your motivating factors. What's important to you. Everybody has different interests in what they're looking to accomplish on their first position at a residency. Some have aspirations for a fellowship, others really want to get on medical school debt, others want to be close to family, a combination of all three. So really the way we break it down, team, is looking at these 4 different criteria. We all know that all the physicians in this room practice evidence-based medicine, right? That's the protocol. Well, we want to reciprocate that by practicing evidence-based recruitment. So the best way we can accomplish that is by using these 4 criteria to really evaluate a position objectively. So one of the lines of questions that we have when we get engaged with you on the phone is, what is the biggest thing you'd like to accomplish once you complete your training? Is it professionally driven? Is it financially driven? Is it personal satisfaction, work-life balance, or is it geography, location? The most frequently asked questions that we get from new grads is really, are there any type of student loan repayment or student loan forgiveness? Do we know the difference between the two? By show of hands, do you know the differences between student loan repayment and student loan forgiveness? Yes, no, kind of, sort of. We're going to talk about that later in the presentation, but there is a distinct difference. And studies have shown that the student loan forgiveness is not what it's cut out to be. There's been a lot of issues, people applying for the student loan forgiveness and not getting the money that they thought they were going to get. So we'll talk about that later on in the presentation. Another question we have for the team here are fellowships, right? What is the game plan? I know the matching process is not too far away from that for some folks. Do you plan on pursuing a fellowship? Do you know what you're looking for? Do you want to be in private practice? Do you want to be employed? By show of hands, who has aspirations for fellowship? Right? I would presume a lot of them are internal medicine residents. Is that fair to say? Just kind of shouting out what fellowships we're looking at, what areas, cardiology, what are we looking at? I'm sorry, ID? Okay, anybody else? GI, hemo, great. No cardiologist match? Okay. And then private practice versus employed. So again, another question for the team, do you understand the difference? Do you have a preference at this point? I know it's kind of an open forum here, engaging with the audience here, but just shouting out loud, maybe show of hands and make it easy. Who has a preference for private practice? Okay. I'm curious why. Well, why private practice? Why is it a preference for the individuals that raise their hand?
More autonomy.
More autonomy, great.
I don't know how to put it into words, but it's not like my only direction, but it's something that I'd like to have. It's
You want to
like
evaluate it?
autonomy and
Sure.
We don't
Yeah,
like
that's-
to be in private practice,
Yeah.
we just can't because the hospital employment is so overbearing. And they have such a, not like control over everything, they have so many more resources. And to do the private practice would just be so overwhelming. I wouldn't be able to have the, the personal life,
And yeah, you need to get all the finances and all the stuff figured out too, instead of all the medical.
Good. I'm glad we're having this because this is the type of conversation we have. Let's get a sense of what's important to you. So to add to the commentary here, so the responses you provided are common, right? Practice autonomy, or practice medicine the way I see fit, maybe not be pigeonholed to a Kaiser Permanente model or some other big healthcare system where that's kind of their way of the highway. For example, Kaiser in Northern California for OB/GYN, they have an OB track and they have a GYN track. That's it. You choose one or the other. That makes it challenging because we know in OB/GYN you need your volumes to be, get board certified. So that's just the way they do things. That is their practice model. For whatever reason, that's what they felt that best suits their model there. So for private practice, it's not as common as it once was. I first got into the industry back in 2004. And when I first started recruiting physicians nationwide, private practice was at its heyday. It really allowed you to join an existing group, share overhead, really kind of write your own ticket with your practice schedule, vacation time. You really, kind of do what you kill model. Things have changed. A lot of it was with their previous administration with President Obama and the Obamacare, right? So now we see a lot of major healthcare systems acquiring, purchasing private practices and employing them. We saw that here with Eisenhower Medical Associates years ago. And I was here during the inception of the EMA. And I've seen them grow to over 200 plus positions, so it can work. But a lot of it is just a preference on the organization, the work culture, work-life balance. Those things are important to folks, and we can really dive into that once we really identify a location that you like and give you details on what that consists of. Okay? All right, so this is kind of going on to what we discussed earlier about the different types of practice opportunities, right? These are kind of the most frequent ones that we see in the marketplace. Multi-specialty groups, single specialty groups, VA, Indian Health Services, hospital employment, private practice, and academics. So out of these 7 different categories here, what is your guess the most popular one that we see right now in the current marketplace?
hospital,
What do you guys think?
hospital.
Hospital employee, yeah. I would say that's probably 65 to 68% of the new jobs available nationwide are hospital employed. And there's different variations, right? You talk about compensation, they generally have an employee-based salary with some type of productivity or quality metric that will allow you to achieve additional income based upon your hard work on a productivity basis or on a quality metric basis. A lot of them are RVUs. That seems to be universal in our country on how they really evaluate and gauge metrics for your performance. And some of the questions we want to ask if you're evaluating an RVU opportunity as a comp model is, what is the thresholds? Right? For example, we're talking about primary care. It ranges anywhere from maybe 3,000 to 4,500 RVUs per year, basically to pay for yourself. And if you produce an excess of that amount, you would be eligible for some type of bonus. And the metric you're looking for is the RVU dollar amount. What is that? On average for primary care, it's about $43. So if you do the quick math, whatever the threshold is, multiply that by that $43, then that should be very close to what your base salary is. And once you exceed that threshold, again, you'd be subject to a bonus. So we'll dive into those details. We call it the medical economics. Really, again, the game plan here is to give you all the facts so you can make an informed decision on these opportunities and really know what you're committing to, expectations. And that's going to help with the retention rate. You look at all the statistics, a lot of new grads, they change jobs within the first couple of years. And a lot of it pertains to signing up for an opportunity they didn't really know fully what the contract consists of from a financial standpoint. Maybe there's some changes in the job description for call responsibilities, a lot of variables, but unfortunately a lot of it pertains to finances. So our goal is to give you all those details, and that way you're fully informed and it minimizes the surprise factor. Okay. So I'm going to go over one more slide. I'm going to hand the microphone over to my colleague, Ms. Audrey, and then we'll wrap up with some Q&A. So contracts, I know Eisenhower does a really good job. I think you meet with John Eddy as well as Scott Fitzgerald to kind of cover some of these talking points. Where we're coming from is from a nationwide perspective. Again, we're based in California, but we represent jobs all throughout the country. And there are some geographical trends that are unique to those particular areas, and we can dive into those details once you share with us where you're looking, what you're looking for, kind of thing. For example, non-competes, right? Non-competes do not hold up in the state of California versus Nevada or some other state. It's pretty clear as day what that consists of. For example, it's usually two things: a geographical radius on miles and a time period. For example, you may see a non-compete saying once you leave this organization, you cannot join a competitor for a couple years, and they define that region by, let's say, 25 miles. Right? That's very common in some states, not so much in California. I think it's turned off. So that's that. You see that in employee agreements. Recruitment agreements, also known as income guarantees, those are not as common. Those are more common with private practice, where they identify private practice in the community and the hospital support a new hire by covering the salary, the incremental overhead, relocation assistance, and sign-on bonus. Basically, the need is to help address a community in a certain area of medicine, and they've found a platform to address that by using a group as a means to accomplish that. So again, back when I first started, that was very common here at Eisenhower Medical Center, where they had groups in the area like Cardiology of the Desert and the Orthopedic Group and other big groups. They wanted to recruit, and they would push along the financial responsibilities of the hospital. And they would draft a recruitment agreement covering 1 or 2 years, and the group would benefit from that because there's not a whole lot of money out of pocket, and they would get the new recruit to join the organization. And then lastly, independent contractor. That's more in line with per diem work, locums, moonlighting. So again, we can address what that consists of once we get to the Q&A portion. Okay. So I'm going to head off to you, Ms. Audrey, so I'll go ahead and change the slide for you.
How are you doing, guys? Tired? Busy? Yeah.
All the above. Arrow, thank you. Make it bigger.
Okay, so what to accomplish and expect during a job interview. All of you have interviews coming up in the future. It's very exciting to go visit with the hospital, the practice, the community. It's a really great process. So first, reconfirm the practice facts. You want to know what you're going into, what your responsibilities are, what the compensation looks like. You want to understand, okay, this is the job that's in front of me. Sell yourself. Just like dating, you are selling yourself on this job. If they're interested in you and you're interested back, show them. Say to them, hey, this is really a great opportunity. I'm excited to be here. People want to hear things like that. They want to know that you're excited about being there as well. What is your practice philosophy? Do your values, does their mission kind of line up where you see yourself in a couple years? Do you see the growth? Do you see the potential to be there for a long time, make a difference, and be, happy in that practice? First impressions, huge, as we all know, in any aspect of life. You want to come in, do a little research on the hospital. You might be at the private practice. What do you know about the area? Is there some big news going on? Be aware of those facts there. Expectations. You also want to know what's expected of you. Really the job responsibilities, kind of the roles there, know what you're getting into, and the title there. A lot of that will be in the contract as well, what's expected, but knowing, okay, I'll be at this practice doing X, Y, and Z, knowing your roles. Compensation. This is huge. We see this a lot for new grads going on interviews and coming back from the interview and not understanding the compensation model. Ask the questions. It's so important on there. If you don't understand how it's set up, how you're going to be compensated, how are you going to sign a contract if you don't know how you're getting paid here? That's a big part. So ask the questions. Don't be afraid. There's no stupid questions. Like I said earlier, we're not mind readers there. So if you're interested, tell them. It's okay to say, hey, I'm excited about this position. What are the next steps here? We're going to move forward with a letter of intent and a contract. What does that look like? So knowing kind of the next steps, and showing your interest there. Compensation trends. This is always huge for any specialty of any level of experience. So the MGMA is the Medical Group Management Association. They take a median kind of nationwide. This kind of takes out the level of experience as well as location. So really these are guidelines. I wouldn't say, you know, this is the exact number we see for every single job. So right now for hospitalists, we're looking at about 300,000, internal medicine outpatient about 260, family practice about 247. So this really ranges. I just have a new family practice job in Dallas right now. For new grads, they're looking about 180 to 210. I also got a new job in Michigan that's looking about 230, 240 for new grads. So it really ranges. But earlier in the presentation, we discussed the motivating factors. That's gonna go back to what's important to you guys. Look, I have family in Dallas. I wanna be there no matter what. You're gonna take the job that's paying a little bit lower. Let's say you have $300,000 in student loans. You're like, hey, I'm gonna go to a smaller city, pay them off, save, and then I go back to, you know, where my family is or something. We do see a lot of new grads, they either end up in the area they were training at or where they're from. That's really big as well, but I would keep an open mind because there's a lot of good jobs out there. You just gotta, you know, see them. And compensations are different specialties. If you are planning on doing a fellowship, I do have my business card here. You can send me a quick email. More than happy to kind of send you the MGMA numbers as well as kind of what to expect and all of that. On-site interview preparation. So how many of you are married or engaged in here? Show of hands. Okay, so we got some of you, maybe some serious relationships. Include your significant other. You know, this is a two-party process here. You are looking at the job and the location, what's to offer. We talk to all significant others. If I don't talk to your significant other, I'm a little concerned. And you gotta talk to them about it too. It's a big decision. You're moving, a lot going on. It's exciting, but you gotta communicate together. Dress to impress. We have actually had candidates go on interviews in jeans. You will not get the job offer in jeans. So first impressions, you know, go in there, wear a suit, a dress, you know, a nice outfit. You're meeting with people for the first time. Address the white elephant in the room. You know, ask any questions there. You're on the interview to learn about this job. Yes, they're excited to see you. You're probably excited to see them. Ask any questions you have. This is the time to do it. Share your time frame on making a decision. We all kind of have general time frames here when making a decision. The biggest thing on an interview, it's going to come down to, can I work with these people? Do I want to be a part of this organization? And can I see myself living in the community? If you can answer both of those questions and say yes, that's probably the job you want to move forward there and make that decision. You know, there's no perfect people, there's no perfect family, there's no perfect job. If you can get to 70, 80% really of what you want and you're happy, take that job and move forward. At this time, that does conclude our presentation. What questions can we answer for you guys?
Kind of do one, when during the process, like how quickly we can start talking about salary ranges, especially if you're going to be looking at multi-state or different areas that you're moving through, not necessarily having to go entertain a lot of different places, and so they're just totally looking for. So kind of that aspect of it. And another, I read different things, and I've spoken to different people about different things regarding like time frames of when hospitals might offer a contract or not, or if there's anything to that.
Yeah, I'll respond and give you an opportunity to respond as well. So, first question, right now 2020 is really looking to see what's out there in the job market, right? So right now it's kind of prime time. It's kind of a cyclical thing, generally starting PGY3, a month after that academic calendar, I recommend you start, especially if you're looking out of state. Because you know, in your training program, it's hard to get time off. So have a game plan. You know, usually it boils down to location and compensation and job description, right? And then have a focus. So you asked about when to talk about money. I would say from the very beginning. You know, think like you're buying a house, right? You're going to look how much it costs before you even try to take a look at it. If it's out of your budget, you're not going to waste your time. So same thing, I think, when you look at a position, it's important. Money's important for everybody. So I think it makes sense to approach from the very beginning. But also get a sense of, again, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. So you want to take into consideration the tax implications. You want to look at the productivity structure. Because the base salary is one thing, because you may see something advertised, 300 grand. Well, is that the base salary? Does that include sign-up bonus? Does that include the bonuses? You want to be able to itemize that, so again, you know all the facts. That way you know exactly what's going on. And also you want to know how attainable are some of these bonuses, right? I know a lot of the jobs we represent, we can give you percentages of the current physicians on them able to obtain the bonuses. That way I say, great, if they can do it, I can do it, right? Type of thing. So that's what I recommend as far as the questions that you referenced. Would you like to add to that as well? Or?
Yeah, I mean, with the compensation too, I would look at what can you make in years 2, 3, and 4. You know, don't get so hung up on that first year guarantee. I mean, it might be an exciting number, but really see what's my potential growth here. And then with you asked about the contract process, kind of how quickly, it really depends. Some of the larger healthcare systems can take, 3 months or so to get a final contract to you. But I work with a private practice in Denver that we got a final contract in a week. So that's why with the time frame there, making a decision, if you're working with a group that can move very quickly and can make an offer to you, they're not going to hold the offer for 6 months, especially in a bigger city. A lot of people want to be there, so if you know, hey, this is the money I want, this is the location, the practice looks great, and they can offer you something, sign. I would definitely sign.
So for example, to add to that, so we work with Ultimate, they're the largest FQHC in California. You interview with them, they give you a 48-hour window to make a decision. So you interview today, you have until Thursday. And they send the contract electronically. That's their approach. They're very upfront about it, and we have a lot of similar clients that have a timestamp on when they'd like to hear back from you. It's a little bit of a dance, right? You have other interviews, they have other candidates. They got to have some type of protocol to minimize, the back and forth. And that's been their approach, and they've been very successful in kind of fish or cut bait. So every organization is different. That's a little bit extreme. But a lot of organizations like to know when we expect to hear back from you, because if you don't want to join us, then we got to focus on other avenues, other candidates. What else, team? What other questions do you have? Yes, sir. I remember you from last time. How you doing?
Hi.
Yeah.
Like if you join like a smaller group, I was talking to a physician recently, and he was like, well, when I first got out of training, I joined this partner, and he told me after 3 years I was maybe a partner.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. And, he said it was like 3 years. And I actually heard that a few times. Is it how do you recommend somebody protects themselves from that happening, or?
So usually that's unique to private practice. So when it comes to the contract phase, and they say, hey, should I have an attorney review it? When you're joining a big healthcare system, probably not. Because it's a very standard contract. There's been hundreds of physicians that have signed it prior to you getting involved with this organization. Private practice is different because their contract is unique to that organization. So you want to make sure you have an attorney that specializes in healthcare contract law that can really best represent you, and make sure that they have the path to partnership outlined that meets your comfort level. A lot of times, the old school mentality, it's like a handshake. Hey, in 2 years we're going to reevaluate where you are. That doesn't do it for me. I got a family. I need some reassurance and predictability that if I commit to you, that you're also all in. But I do see where they're coming from. Like, hey, I've been here for 30 years. I paid all this overhead. Worked through all these referring patterns, and this is a sweet opportunity. But so the best way to address that is to have a clear understanding of what we call the path to partnership. And a lot of big private practices do. Say, hey, within 12 months, we're going to have a vote on giving you the opportunity to be eligible for a partner. And what does that consist of, right? Voting rights, share in profit sharing, ownership interest in real estate, imaging, pharma, whatever. Everything will be spelled out so you know, again, what the expectation is. And also they have an estimated dollar amount what that buy-in would consist of. Usually it's fair market value minus depreciation assets to give you a sense of what that dollar would consist of. So we work with groups here in the desert, private practices that have a very similar format, that they spell out what the buy-in is, the dollar amount, what you can get, and also the return on your investment. So a lot of these buy-ins are like 6 figures. I don't know about you, but I don't have 6 figures in set away somewhere safe. So a lot of these, particular individuals, they'll get like a loan, and they'll buy in, and they'll see the return on the investment within 12 to 18 months, and then from that point on, they're just making more and more. So that's what I recommend, because a lot of these deals are kind of like written on the napkin, or hey, I trust you, trust me. It's like, yeah, I do, but the way we do business in this country, I need some more reassurance in a written format, and that's going to help minimize. But even then, at the end of the day, if you have a high contract and that person doesn't want to honor it, what's gonna happen? You're gonna take them to court, it's gonna be awkward, it's just, so really what I like to dive into is why private practice, why is that important to you? Because you can have that practice autonomy in an employee model, you know, and we can share with you how that can be accomplished. But, you know, being a business owner, unfortunately, is not what it used to be, especially in healthcare. Anybody else?
When does the timing of the year, when do you usually like want to sign the contract? Like way before you're finishing residency, or when you'll do it after you finish?
So really, it's up to you. The challenge is, if you like an opportunity, others are going to like it as well. And if you waver on your decision, you run the risk of losing it. And that's more aligned with very desirable locations like Orange County, LA, San Diego, right? And that's why they have these short windows to make a decision and say, hey, I like you, but I got 5 other interviews in the next couple of weeks.
But what I mean is, like, do you interview way before you finish and then you start after you finish? Like, how many months in advance from actually starting?
Before graduation date?
Yeah.
So if you're looking to relocate out of state, I would expand that time frame probably 12 months before you graduate. Because you still got to get a state license, you got to relocate, you know, on a big family. But you're just talking local, I would say soon. You know, if you're a PGY3 and you're graduating next August or July, and you want to stay locally, I would say October, November at the latest, because you get busy. Holidays are around the corner, you have other applicants that may swoop up that position.
But what I mean is, will they hire you so
Yes.
far in advance?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Or when you're...
Yeah, they do. You know, we're in a war for talent. Everybody in this room is in a good position because primary care is at its ultimate high.